everyone. I hope you're well. I'm excited to share a couple of insights that have been coming to me and really shifting my perspective over the last couple of weeks. It started when I watched a couple of videos that were describing the current research that's been happening, where we're coming to understand the ways that trees communicate with one another. It turns out that under the ground, in the tree roots, the trees are wrapped in mycelia and fungi that connect all this vast network of trees together. They recognize their own children and grandchildren. They send food and resources back and forth to one another. They share insights and wisdom and understanding for the shifts in weather patterns, for invading species of bugs, information for weathering fires. Unbeknownst to us, there's been this incredible, intricate exchange of communication, which we're still learning about, in which trees provide information to one another and help to sustain the well-being of the entire forest. So, not long after watching these video clips, I then read an article in which an author was interviewing elders, those that had reached their senior years. And she was interviewing them to ask them about, was there anything that when they reflected back on their lives that they felt any sense of regret over? And to her surprise, they weren't discussing or feeling a sense of regret over not having done enough or had a more successful business or traveled more or accomplished more things with their lives. Instead, she interviewed a pretty large, diverse group of seniors, and consistently their response was, the one thing that I feel a little bit of regret over is not having spent more time in my relationships with my family, my friends, my lovers. They really seem to only hold a primary sense of regret over wishing that they had deepened their connections with others. So, 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in an open Land Rover on a game drive in the African bushveld during the Return to Heart retreat. And this is a small retreat that I do once a year. A small group of participants come and join me. And we spend a good portion of the day sitting in silent meditation, if you will, with a wild herd of elephants. I was sitting there in this moment of stillness, and suddenly a new perspective kind of popped into my awareness. We often look to Mother Nature for guidance, and oftentimes I think we reflect on recognizing, wow, we are part of this vast web of intelligence. And yet, when I thought about it, I realized, we've been basing our understanding, or at least our story of Mother Nature, on this idea of evolution, and that evolution was coming from the concept of survival of the fittest. There were scarce resources, and you needed to outsmart, overpower, and somehow rise to the top so that you spread your genes and become the strongest, and only the strongest survive, right? Well, as I was sitting there kind of reflecting on these video clips from the trees and this new research and information we're discovering, and the article that I had read, and feeling this incredible herd of elephants and the way that they move through the landscape and how they support one another, and the intelligence behind how they move through the landscape. And I began to feel the participants sitting in this vehicle beside me, and the wonderful deep dive that we were all going on in this journey of self-exploration. And I just realized, oh my gosh, what if we have it all wrong? This idea of survival of the fittest, what if it's not survival of the fittest? What if life is actually an intricate harmony of relationships? So I sat with that for a few minutes and realized that that felt so much more true than the idea that we were sole, isolated individuals that needed to somehow step over outsmart or overpower one another to rise to the top. It caused me to realize that, when we each have the courage to do the kind of personal journey of self exploration, to begin to recognize that we have been living in a culture of trauma, and take the time to really look at our own behavioral patterns, work through the places where we have resistance to connecting with others, and recognize that we are in an incredible epidemic of loneliness. It made me realize and really appreciate our innate need for love and belonging, our innate need for meaningful, intricate relationships with one another. I felt, such a deep sense of gratitude for all the ways in which, when we take that time to do the personal journey and the personal development, we are evolving and growing one another. We're evolving and growing ourselves for life to express itself for many generations to come. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for being a powerful sense of my own heart. And thank you for all the times in which you have had the courage to be wildly brave, to sit in the moments of tension, to do the personal transformation, and to start to find your own way towards reforming meaningful, nourishing connections for yourself. When you do that, you're growing and deepening our roots. You're growing and deepening my experience. And when I do that, I'm growing and deepening yours. I just want to say thank you for being a part of this incredible experience of evolution. Not that of survival of the fittest, but that of a harmony of powerful, profound, intricate relationships. Thank you.